Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Diplomacy Timing Window, where the rules are discussed and our opinions don't matter. I'm Hungry Hippos.
My name is the Half Herd.
I'm Kazadoom.
On today's episode, we're having a discussion on the Prophecy of Kings expansion. Should it be added to the Twilight Wars app? Should the app include only certain components? Should we mess with what seems to be an already great game? Well, for better or worse, Titans of Fantasy Flight already did. So maybe what we should do is start out discussing our current experience with the Prophecy of Kings expansion so far amongst us. Have you guys played POK recently?
Yeah, I've played several games so far, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I played a few myself, and I gotta say, overall, pretty positive experience.
Yeah, my first experience with POK was against the Titans of Uul. I was Nomad. Somehow I pulled out a win on that one, but it became incredibly obvious that there was a new favorite faction in town. What do you guys think?
Yep. They definitely have a lot of tricks.
Titans are definitely my favorite, I have to say. I know they're just not even fair. They're so ridiculous, but I love them.
I think I'd really enjoy like an episode on the Titans of Uul, and that's it. Whether or not it's good, bad, just the ridiculousness of it, I think everyone can agree it's ridiculous.
I mean, the only thing I realized with Titans is that they don't have a flashy hero. So most factions got like this one-time usage bonkers thing that they can do. But Titans, quote unquote, just get a better home system.
I mean, a much better home system.
Yes, a much better home system.
The best home system.
So we have lots of experience playing with and without the factions. And so obviously there's a whole kind of other timing windows that you could say that would be involved when you would play Prophecy of Kings. And so integrating that into the Twilight Wars app would obviously be very tough, especially when you want to conserve asynchronous play. So
that was the one thing I noticed for sure, was just the sheer number of additional steps. It's just like, for a game that already had so many, it blew me away. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I do like the exploration though.
The thing is, there's so many interconnected parts that it's actually not that easy to isolate things that you could take out of Prophecy of Kings and integrate it into the Twilight Wars app as they are.
Yeah, it seems like there is a lot of interconnected parts there for sure. I have to agree.
Yeah, if you look at Relics, Explore, the new factions that are based on the Explore mechanic, the new technology and the mechs, they're all interwoven, so you can't really separate those out.
But we can agree there's some really fun components there that might be easily integrated. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. So that's kind of our discussion today. What are some of the great parts of the Prophecy of Kings expansion that can be easily introduced, and how do we do it? And then maybe highlight some of the ones that would be nice to have, but not so much possible, or at least not without some massive tweaking of the code.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the first and probably most obvious one are the planets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, considering that if you play a 4-player game, all systems are always on the board, all available systems.
The nice thing with additional planets is, it gives you that option to go up to 8-player.
That as well, yeah.
Right, because now you have a lot more variety and just the more tiles just in general to get that 4th ring set up.
Yeah.
Man, I've never seen an 8-player map before. I mean,
I've
played this so much and I have never seen one.
Have you played an 8-player, Kaza?
No, never, but I've seen a few maps, and we are actually thinking of playing one Prophecy of Kings game on Tabletop Simulator for a bachelor's party in May. So we'll see.
A bachelor party with TI.
Yeah. I played TI on my bachelor's party, so
that sounds like my kind of bachelor party.
Yeah.
Segue. My bachelor party was a LAN party, and it was everything I wanted it to be.
That's great. Yeah.
We all carried our big computers to someone's house and played a variety of games. I think Dota was prominent amongst them.
Yeah.
But
So in
yeah,
the end, the only thing that would need more coding there, aside from like just adding in the values and the graphics, are the legendary planets.
Mhm.
yeah, do we? I mean, always having planets is nice, but do we also include with legendary planets their added bonus is that they have once around?
My vote
We-
would be to keep them out for the first iteration until, because like going back to Kaza's point of the interconnectedness of all the different, new components, right? I think legendary planets are too interwoven into the fabric that is the POK expansion.
Yeah,
And I don't
mean,
think it makes sense to have them on their own.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Well, I would vote to leave them out and just have the normal column systems in
Yeah.
the game.
There's a few of them that I'm thinking of where you have a planet within a nebula. That was interesting.
Definitely, yeah, some of the new anomalies I really, really like having planets in nebulas. I love the idea of wormholes in asteroid fields.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that stuff is just really
yeah,
nice.
it's just fun.
And I have to say it's a little misleading, the new system sometimes, because I'll look at a system and the art is so pretty. You'll see a system with rings and it's shiny and it looks awesome, and it's
And
a
there's just
1,
Warhol.
2, and
Hafford, would you say
it's
that they're
actually-
vibrant?
Oh, they are. I would. You took the words right out of my mouth. I would say they are very vibrant. I love them.
Yeah. So we all agree that adding planets is probably one of the easier things that can be done, and we all know trying to go after those.
Quick, without thinking, what's the most OP new system tile?
Was it if you're looking for the objective of a number of industrial planets? I remember there's one tile that has 3 planets. I think they're
Geol Ear.
Jill are
and-
1, 2, and 3.
Oh, the
No, you're
triple
thinking. Yeah,
systems.
you're thinking of the triple system.
Yeah.
I think only 2 of those planets are industrial, and 1 is hazardous in that system.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But yes, Kaza, you were reading my mind. Joel Ear,
It's 2, 3, 2, 3.
2, 2, 3 planets,
Yeah.
or 4, 6 in the system.
But I mean, in the end, nothing is like, it's still on the same level as Barrack. It's the Barrack system. So
It's true. They have the added benefit of not being hazardous planets.
which
So they're-
doesn't
they're-
matter without Splore. So
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, no, I think there's action cards, right?
Ah,
that,
yeah,
that target
true.
hazardous. I always find when I'm doing stuff on hazardous planets, even in the base game, I'm always nervous.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always in the back of my
I'm
mind
always
too.
I'm always paranoid
Yeah.
of those unstable planets and uprisings, and
that's true.
I guess uprising can be anywhere, but
All right. So we can agree that planets would be amazing. And the second thing we were thinking of was the new objectives.
Yeah, this is where I think the Twilight Imperium kind of hybrid game that we're discussing could really be upgraded, because the current objectives now really favor certain races. Jolnar super happy about the percentage of research objectives. 20% of them are research based, and basically that means Jolnar gets them automatically without even trying. But some of the new objectives from Prophecy of Kings, I think that they do away with the research, but have more planet unit presence, more objectives that are for ships and structures in certain locations and on planets, and have a couple more economic based objectives. I think that would be really helpful, because obviously the current ones, if you play it enough, kind of get stale.
Yeah.
and certainly more control objectives, which helps some of those more aggressive races.
Yeah. And especially I feel like with the base game, the spend objectives are very, very dominant and very easy to score.
Mm-hmm.
And they also kind of slow the game down, because with the new objectives, you can do something on the board and score points, where with the other ones, you're like, okay, I don't have anything because I just spent 16 resources on something.
So here's an interesting question that I don't even think we brought up during our little research was, what factions are most likely to benefit from having the POK expansion based objectives included? Yeah, of the original factions that exist.
Yeah, keeping in mind we're just talking in the, I guess, the sense of the base game here, right?
Yeah,
I
I'm
would say
thinking
probably
like
Soul. is the one faction that is already strong and gets a boost by having control objectives.
I think Sardak is another one.
I think I was gonna say Cha, right? Getting those structure objectives becomes a little more.
Yes. Be a little easier for them to turtle and still get objectives.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, the key thing is that first off, research is worse because you don't need to research all the time just for the sake of getting those objectives.
Mm-hmm.
Then you also have the thing that structures become meaningful in this game, aside from just doing stuff on the board so they can score you points. So just the construction card itself will be more valuable, adding a bit more tension to the strategy phase.
What are some of the, if you guys can remember from your gameplay with POK, what are some of the structure-based objectives? Is it 6 structures on the game board?
I think
there's
the
2 stage 1, 2 stage 2.
I think there's 2 types. There's have 3 structure, 3 planets with structures on them outside your home system.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a number of structures, and I think it's 3 and 5 total, or 3 planets.
4 and 6, I think.
Or something along those lines. Yeah. So you.
Or 4 and 7. I think.
Yeah, 4 and 7. So yeah, it makes it more valuable to pick or use your strategy tokens for the secondary of construction, which is nice. Because it's probably one of the worst cards at the moment.
Fair. For the originalists out there, though, do we really want to change what Fantasy Flight put together with their original objective list? Is it that imbalanced?
I think there's a reason why they changed the objectives and why they added so many objectives in different categories. But yeah.
And I think there's something to be said of balance versus, changing things up and spicing things up. And I think one thing I would like to see, obviously, this is a bit in the future, but I wouldn't mind even seeing more frequent updates to the game to shift metas around.
I mean, yeah,
and maybe that's something that could be, an idea that could potentially be toyed around with later.
I mean, with the game itself, with the codex that gets published every now and then, this is already happening to the base Prophecy of King game. So always depends on how those codex things will be then also integrated into the app, and that changes stuff around anyway. So we'll see what happens there.
Something that's always been an issue for me when playing asymmetric games, and especially ones that have so many layers to it, like Twilight Imperium 4, is inherent balance. But it's almost impossible to plan for balance in a game like that because there's so many different ways. I mean,
oh my God, excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, you put out, well, Titans isn't the only one. I think the Cabal are another one, and the Mahawk. For me, those are like the top 3 crazy new factions. But you don't, it's not an automatic win because there's so many different ways in which people can pile on you. I've been Titans of Ua once, and though to be honest, it took 3 different factions to come at me and it's why I didn't win. And one of them was the Mahawk. So yes, balance is hard to achieve, but so I mean, I would agree with that effort. It requires a little bit more spice and fun beyond the necessity for balance, even though it's something that I crave in a game. If I'm going to choose a faction, I want to have a chance.
Talking balance, the thing is, from what I gather and what I've seen in internet discussions, is that if you're not mean to Titans, they're inherently ahead of the board.
Yes.
So that's kind of an issue because now everybody who picks Titans knows that they will not have any diplomatic relationships and they will always have a hard time if they're on a competitive table.
Unless you're next to the Emperine, in which case they kind of have to be diplomatic, or they're forced to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can agree most of the objectives except for maybe 2 in particular with respect to planet attachments would be ideal to put into the game and probably easily implemented. Would you guys agree with that?
Yes. Also,
Yep.
there's a few or most of the secret objectives could be implemented as well, I think.
Yeah, except for the agenda-based ones, or I haven't seen too many of them to make a proper opinion there. What do you? Have
No,
you guys?
they work. They work. That's not that big of an issue.
Yeah, I think there's only 2 of them anyways. One where it's just the number of laws in play.
And
And
the
then
other
the
one, you
other
have
one-
to be elected.
Right.
Yes.
So they're not a big deal and they're not impossible.
So I guess the next topic then is action cards. We
Give me
have
all those action cards.
yeah, there are some really fun ones there. I can't think of the titles off the top of my head, but I remember playing them, a few of them, and it's like, wow, this is really interesting. I want to play it.
Mhm.
Probably not the best timing for it, but I just had to play it.
I mean, in regards to action cards, it's always the question how feasible it is to implement in regards to timing windows and how often you have to ask players if they want to play that specific card that they don't have. But
Yeah, I think a lot of them might be a little difficult in the sense that, or maybe not difficult's the right word, but just more tedious, we'll call it. Trying to figure out adding all those new timing windows. And I guess me personally, I'm always hesitant to do that at this stage of where the game's at. I kind of like the way the flow is right now. So I would focus on things, more, I guess, component actions are always something that's not too onerous.
yeah,
I think we did. We created a spreadsheet where ones that are already implemented, ones that could be, and ones that would just create too many timing window issues within the app. And I've counted them, and there's about 30 action cards that would just mess with the flow too much to incorporate them. But that still leaves, a good chunk that can be added that would make the game spicier.
I mean, the worst offender there is public disdain.
Disgrace?
In a 6-player public disgrace, yeah, it
Yes.
just creates 25 questions in a 6-player agenda strategy phase.
Already, when you have Imperial Arbiter, there's already that timing window, and you want to add one for the action card that becomes, and
But
you're just
for
trying
every
to select
player
a
and every
silly
card being
strategy
picked.
every pick, every time a strategy card is picked.
Yeah, there's got to probably be a way around that, but in the easily implementable category, not so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that could be quite fun. The action cards, I want to see a few of them. Maybe not bother the developers yet, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I think those 3 topics, system tiles, objectives, action cards, are kind of in the more doable bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Probably in the next tier, I'll call it, is the, what we like to call the exploration.
And this is where the timing window issues come into play. Oh man,
so many new timing windows. But I gotta say, I actually really enjoy exploration as part of a new game mechanic.
You know where I really love exploration?
As
when
the
I'm
Titans of
Ul.
Are you exploring? Why not put a PDS down? Are you exploring? Why not turn your PDS into a flagship for free?
Why not?
Why not just drop some mechs on planets? It's all fine. This is fine.
Don't pay for
Nothing
the flagship.
wrong
Just it'll
here.
transform.
There's nothing wrong with any of this.
When I was playing it, I could not
intended.
believe it. I could just re-explore, and then all of a sudden my PDS becomes a flagship. I was like, what? That's a thing?
It's just, working the way, God built those little robots to work.
And they sustain damage. And they're ground forces.
Yep. No, in general, exploration is great. The problem there is that it's also very integrated with the new technologies. So you would need to add more to the game. And that only works if you do all at once. They influence the agenda deck because you take out all those elect planet cards and replace them with actual useful agendas.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, a lot of those agendas and the planet attachments, I prefer the way the mechanic works actually in the expansion compared to the base game. It adds that kind of cool aspect of, turning a planet that maybe wasn't very good into something that's actually decent.
Yeah, the attachments become, that's where they become awesome. Somewhat silly, but awesome.
Dyson sphere.
Yes, we all
And
love a
what
good
I
Dyson
felt
sphere.
with Explore is that you can't look at the map anymore and really determine who has a huge advantage over others.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can now just like
sure.
draw the correct stuff and be like, yeah, well, I guess my 2 planets that I have outside my home system are completely enough to make it work.
And you know where I really kind of appreciate exploration. I don't mind not having attachment stuff, but making the empty spaces and the anomalies that much more attractive. Certain factions, or when you research the someone help
Dark
me out.
energy.
Dark energy, being able to actually make use of empty space.
No,
I
I
really
think that's
cool.
a well-deserved buff to empty systems and non-planet systems for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did we mention how exploration really works well with the Titans of Ul?
I think we've heard enough about Titans for a day.
Never enough Titans. And so I guess that finally leaves agents. Man, I really enjoy the agents. There's a few times where, oh man, I was Embers of Moat going against Necrovirus. And I thought, man, I'm going to use my hero ability. It's going to be awesome. And I put a supernova right next to Necro's home system. Unfortunately, Necro copied Magmus Reactor. and then the game was over.
Yeah, those heroes are incredible. They're so much fun. Even if you don't win the game or you lose horribly, you have one moment in the game that just feels amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
this one I think would require a little bit of like thought into, because the thing is, it's an all or nothing, right? I don't think you can just do some of it, right? If you're gonna do it, you got to go all in. And the thing is, I'm not sure, at least because we're just talking about the base game factions, if any of those abilities would be outside of the scope of what's possible at the moment. So that would be something first to consider. But if there is no major conflicts, I actually really like the idea, because the thing I found the agents, the heroes, the commanders really do well is, of all the rest of everything we've talked about, is they really bring balance to some of those factions that I think are considered, lower tier.
Yeah.
I'd say the biggest timing window risk comes in when you develop the Alliance Promissory Note, allowing someone to use your commander ability. There might be a timing window thing there that gets added, which would
probably not
destroy
though,
it.
because commanders are passive, and I would think that can all be automated.
But it's
One would
still
hope.
like you have to account for a lot of interactions that have to be
yeah.
done passively. Yeah.
In terms of bug searching and debugging, for sure, because now there's a whole lot of interactions between the different abilities between different factions. It's like coding Necrovirus all the time.
Yeah.
For every faction.
For every
iteration of every faction.
Yeah.
It's tough.
So I could see it being tough from a development perspective, but I like the way it balances some of the I guess what we'd call like the weaker factions from the base game.
And I mean, in the end, it's like with a lot of things, it's so integrated into the faction that I think it doesn't make sense to only integrate an agent, but not the commander or hero. So it's like the package is something that needs to be there in one go, I guess.
Well, I mean, from my perspective, based off of the 5 areas we looked at, planets, objectives, action cards, exploration, and agents, I think kind of the low-hanging fruit are incorporation of new planets, newer objectives, and some action cards, with exploration and agents being probably a little too much. Would you guys want to play that hybrid version?
As an 8-player game, absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to get into an 8-player.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be pretty crazy.
Well, I think we spent enough time stalling in this timing window, so let's hit the pass button and keep the game moving.
Twilight Imperium 4th Edition is a game of galactic conquest and diplomacy with fans all around the world. It was designed by Dane Beltrami, Corey Konieczka, and Christian Peterson, with art by Scott Schomburg and published by Fantasy Flight Games. Please support the official release and your local game store by purchasing a personal copy. For those of you who want to enjoy Fantasy Flight's game online or on mobile in asynchronous or synchronous play, which, let's face it, is the only type of board gaming we can do these days, please check out and support the Twilight Wars app. All links are in the description.